What's up, ladies and gentlemen? In this session of Politics as Usual with your man Spike Lou.
And your boy Nikki Duce.
It's another week in the books. As you know, we come here to discuss politics through our lens as two young black men in the world. In this session, we talk about Disney redesigning a park staple. The word master is being removed from bedroom description on real estate sites. Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima are being pulled from the shelves as far as their being representative of their brands. American society rushes to clean the image that we talk about, the effects that it has on black people, and an executive order is being signed to make skills just as important as education and government jobs when being hired. What does that mean for us? And Rona is back, folks, and it's on the rise. Are we going to go back on lockdown? It's another session of Politics as Usual. Nikki Duce,
what's going on?
How you feeling, brother?
I'm kind of confused because you started off saying two young black men. I think I'm the. I think you kind of misleading the people already.
I'm still considered young as far as what we doing here. I'm still in the young demographic.
Is it like
I got a couple more years?
Is it like how Jay-Z said, "Young ho"?
Yeah, young ho. You know, I'm washed but not old. You still got a couple more wears out here in these streets. How things been going?
They going all right. I can't really complain. The family's still good throughout all these crazy times. So that's a blessing in itself. But outside of that, we was talking about this on the way here recording. I am kind of pissed off. My vacation plans got ruined. I'm speaking of being a young nigga. Yeah, I was gonna take the chance and still travel. Yeah, not too far, but just somewhere with a beach. And yeah, that shit got canceled.
That Rona is real, folks. Like I think that people are. Since the protests happened, people have been very quick to be like things are back to normal, and that is not the case. So y'all be careful out there. We're going to talk about that a little bit to actually title this episode, Rona Back on the Rise. So that's going to be one of the things that we hit on. First and foremost, though, Nick, did you see the governor of Georgia, this great state that we're in? People probably will mock my accent when I say that. Brian Kemp, Republican governor, he signed into law a brand new bill. It was a hate bill.
The hate crime bill.
The hate crime bill.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia was one of the 4 states that did not have them one in effect. What do you think this means for black people, the bill in itself and its general? What's your feedback on it?
The snowball effect is still going on as far as seeing action being backed up by politicians, companies, as far as their quote-unquote support of the black community these days. Because I believe this is particularly hugely based off of the Ahmaud Arbery case,
right?
Or situation, and pretty much nothing else. So that's why I feel like this is a black bill. This is a bill to be like, all right, we're here for y'all. This is something that we can do right now that should help alleviate some stress for this not to happen down the line in the future. And I got it up here. I think just a quick summary. The bill would mandate enhanced sentencing for defendants convicted of targeting a victim because of their actual or perceived race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, mental disability, or physical disability. That will mean additional potential prison time or fines on top of sentences for the type of crime for which the defendant was convicted, such as manslaughter or murder.
Yep. So essentially, if they can prove that you're being a fucking racist in the crime that you committed, they're going to add time onto that bill. And everybody else in the United States have been primarily cool with that, with the exception of Arkansas, Georgia, South Carolina, and Wyoming. The reason being for those 4 states was the vagueness in the law when it had to do with sexual orientation. So they didn't like the language. I think in unison, these 4 states didn't like the language and how vague it was as far as the disciplinary actions, and if they could prove that it was because of your sexual orientation. With that being said, like you were giving me feedback on what you said, is House Bill 426. Do you know the process of how bills get put up and how this becomes law? Like, do you know how that?
I mean, I remember the Schoolhouse Rock episode. You know what I'm saying? I'm old enough to remember that.
That was in your era, man.
The reruns was. The reruns definitely were. I was watching. What was it? What's that old Boomerang?
Oh, yeah, Boomerang. Exactly.
It was on there one time. But no, I vaguely. So I mean, if you could break it down.
Well, the state representatives, the people in the legislative office of government, They draft the bills. They use lobbyists. They use lawyers. They use people of the community to see what they're supposed to see what they're thinking, to see what people are lobbying for. Then they draft that up into a bill. They present that bill on the floor with their peers. Their peers debate whether they feel like it should be a good bill or a bad bill. After the debate, they vote, and their vote is put into law. Like, it goes through one more process in the House or the Senate, either or, however you want to say it. But it goes through both of those processes. They debate it, and then it's voted into law. So, do you think that this is beneficial for like black people? You said we've been reaping the benefits of it. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a black bill, but it benefits everybody. Okay. Just like it reminds me of how people talk about the civil rights bill, the one that Martin Luther King helped get passed. It all came from the black experience, but everybody benefits off that. It's kind of like a microcosm of America. Like most things have. Black people have to suffer for the greater good for everyone else.
For stuff to be realized it is wrong.
Exactly. Because you look, when I was breaking down the bill, it says race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual. Like you see all these different groups that do get affected by hate crimes. I'm not saying that they don't, but in this country, to the level of black people, I'm not trying to play, the what is it, those type of Olympic games or whatever, as far as like the hurt Olympics, but it's always interesting to see that black struggle, black punishment, or however you want to call it, is always used to benefit everybody else.
Do you think that racist people that are going to commit a crime, do you think this is going to deter them from doing that?
Nah, but I think that this is not for racist people. I think this is for the cops. This is a way to, you know how like lawyers get real creative with the law and stuff like that, right. And you can be able to get away with certain loopholes to get things in because certain loopholes. I think this is what that is for, because like you said, like obviously in a logical or practical sense, yeah, a bill ain't
gonna be a racist.
A bill has never stopped anybody from doing nothing. Murder's illegal in this country, but hella niggas die. So that won't stop. But as far as us being able to prosecute the cops when it comes to video evidence like a George Floyd and all that stuff, like you'll start seeing people get attached to this if that does happen in the state of Georgia.
I think it's a good thing. I do think that you'll see people get attached to it. What I really wish is there would be more effort to change thought processes, and I know we can't do that in probably a generation. But what I mean by that is if someone is racist, then they're going to commit the crime regardless if it's based in hate, if it's to fit this bill. I don't think that them going to court and adding 3 to 5 more years to what they did is going to affect them. But what I do think is there needs to be continuous work and not let this bill just sit there and be, okay, well, we have the hate crime bill. We've joined the norm of the other 40-something states that had this into effect as well. I think that they need to continue to build on this, not just simply, as you said, have it for the law and lawyers. Like, it should really be an effective thing that happens to us, like where people, even before the consideration even there, that it deters people from being harmful to black people or gay people or religious people that they don't agree with. I don't think that it deters anybody from doing anything. It's like, okay, it's on the books, but so what?
Well, I mean, if it's on the books, that means that it can get addressed if these issues arise. Right. Like the reason why we have laws in this country is because somebody fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like the laws is because, just like how you have rules in certain houses or whatever, it's because somebody did something that
we had to address.
We had to address
it on the books.
Exactly. Right. So that's what it is. Like that's the acknowledgement that I'm getting from it. I do agree with your point as far as what does this actually do, as far as how people move around black people or how people police black people and all that stuff. How does this help make us feel safe? But having something on the books is something. Right now, for Georgia to even do this, it shows a huge bipartisanship right now.
Yeah, it does. Democrat, that was one of the things that Kemp, the governor of Georgia, said when he was making the announcement surrounding this bill. The bipartisanship that was associated with it, Republicans, Democrats, men, women, black, white, everybody was pretty much in agreement that this should be put into effect. The reason I mean, that's easy to do, like to put this into effect, I would say. Like they just now catching up to the norms. Keep working on it, I would say.
Yeah, no, I mean the work has just gotten started.
True.
Like we're not. I'm just more surprised that we've actually, you know how you see when someone's just about to start building the building, they cut the ribbon and they put that little.
They finally open the doors.
They finally getting some shit started. So like, hopefully, like you said, the ball keeps on rolling with all this, like with all this policy and reform and all that, and even with just kind of like the acknowledgement that we fucked up. I think America hasn't really even said that yet. They're starting to. Some people have started to say it, but once we finally get America to say we fucked up, then we can go further. And as you can see, this bill is kind of like starting that.
A step in the right direction. I do agree with that 100%. Next, Quaker Oats. They've decided to remove Aunt Jemima's name as well as Uncle Ben from the rice, Aunt Jemima from the pancake and syrup line. Also, in the same vein, Disney World, they are changing one of their most popular rides, Smash Mountain, due to the racial history song of the South that the Brer Rabbit is in cohetes with, and that's where the whole story came from for the ride. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And some real estate companies are deciding to remove the word master when describing bed and bath. Nick, are these moves a step in the right direction, like we were saying with the bill being put into place, or is this just lip service?
It's lip service like a motherfucker. Bubble gump lip service. Well, that's how big that lip is.
So you finna tell me you weren't hype when you found out that Quaker Oats was taking Aunt Jemima off the shelves?
First of all, the fact that they put that on their syrup, on their brand for over umpteen years, it's been longer than 20 years. My thing is this: we've seen you're having a whole list of companies that pretty much said we have been showcasing black people in a bad light for a minute, or we have been using terminology of past tense for a long time that we probably should have moved off on. But because we've seen somebody die on a video for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, now we feel a little bit different.
We're woke.
We're awakened now. Like I can understand Aunt Jemima. Uncle Ben could have stayed. You know what I'm saying? He just the black chef at the end of the day. But
That's funny.
all this shit really this really don't mean nothing. Like what are you gonna call the master bedroom now? Something else? Like how does that help black people? Like first of all, the neighborhood you selling that bedroom to, black people ain't even in it. So it's like, what is this? I don't know. It's just hella lip service, and it's kind of like it's dealing with everything else, but it's beating around the bush to the real shit.
I'm going to disagree with you, not just to play devil's advocate here. I think one of the biggest problems in America when we're dealing with all this is white people failing to acknowledge their acceptance of racism. Like white people failing to realize that they operate in a system that benefits them. Like it doesn't matter if you individually are racist or not as a white person, like in my opinion. It doesn't matter if you're not the one that's out there making the laws or shooting black people. You are a beneficiary of how the system is set up. So as they start to acknowledge small things like this, taking a slave off the box of pancake mix in 2020, still this was a thing. Uncle Ben, same thing. The exploitation of black people, as these things are slowly starting to be acknowledged and realized, I think then you have a change in thought of how black people are treated, a change in thought of what is accepted when you're dealing with black people. Same thing with the law, like I was saying and trying to articulate with the last point of that bill being put into effect. There's a perception problem that's real in America that a lot of white people won't acknowledge. A lot of white people will say, well, I mean, I'm not racist, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, I'm here for you guys, and I'm going to go on the front lines, and I'm going to march. You're still a beneficiary of a system where racism is built. And with that being said, when you start to change the small things and make white people uncomfortable, pointing these stories out, pointing out their origin and why it's in itself racist, I think that then you start to able to get a real change, because you have a change in perception, change in thought process, a change in how you're dealing with white people. A small victory, a very, very small victory. Don't get me wrong, and I think in saying that this is a big thing, but a victory nonetheless.
The reason why I don't care for this is because it's coming off of decades and maybe even centuries, some of these companies been to a while for a long ass time, that they've benefited off of this. Like, how many millions of dollars or billions of dollars did Quaker Oats make off of the Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben brand before they decided to change their mind? How many times has Disney, how many motherfuckers have been on Splash Mountain since the ride was created? How much money was generated from that?
Mm-hmm.
How many houses till this day have the terms? You know what I'm saying? Like, now you want to start being fair? Like, you've got all this money, all this capital, and I'm saying all this because this is what black people should have gotten, because you're using black images, because you're exploiting black people, and you got enough money that you are now like, all right, cool, y'all can have some now, or like, we'll stop doing it now. Like, you don't, like, you've already shown that you were greedy and you don't give a fuck. Why are you pretending like you give a fuck now?
Well, I mean, they are paying the family of the person who.
Oh, now they are?
No, they've been paying them for 20 years, and that's the next point that I was going to bring up to see what you thought about it. Some of the family members are complaining that this is changing. They're mad. They want and think that this is a good representation of their aunt. This is the person that's speaking out of the late, who the character is based on. Her name is Lillian Richard.
That's who Aunt Jemima is supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Anna Short Harrington. These two women were hired by Quaker Oats to play the character in the 20s and the 30s. Their relatives spoke out this week saying that this is a point of pride for their family, for their relative to be portrayed on this box for so long.
Hell yeah, because
And
every time they see it, like, hey, we got a check
for the stop. That's what I was going to get
niggas,
to. They're really mad because
hey,
their check for the stop.
Niggas will... And I say niggas because I think for me, this is a nigga moment. Like, they just mad that the checks might slow up a little bit.
Here's a direct quote from the great-grandson of Harrington. "This is an injustice for me and my family. This is a part of my history, sir." That's what
they sound like.
Larnell Evans Sr. says.
Larnell, hey, you sound like us by the name, but I don't know if you think like us, because everybody and they mama and they aunts and they mamas know that shit is racist as hell, and it doesn't it's not the proper representation that we want to see. Why don't they just have her real name? Why they got to be Aunt Jemima? Why couldn't it be Jemima Carter or Jackson? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Miss Harrington started appearing on the box in 1935. She toured the country serving pancakes while dressed up as Aunt Jemima.
That speaks for itself. This is lip service. This is lip service like a motherfucker. Only one nigga ate off of this shit.
That they family. I mean, but on a real note, they did provide their family with, I guess, a generation of wealth where the grandson is still able.
And maybe not even that may not be what they should have deserved anyway. Yeah, if you're gonna be the face of something, hell, I need at least a 25 to 30% cut of this shit. If everybody, if all black people looking at me when she was on the bus or on the way home or whatever, everybody looking at her like she a coon and shit. Nah, I need a check for that.
Come on with all of that. All right, next we got Trump, your man's signs.
Don't say that. They already on my ass about being a Republican, right, okay.
Bro. 45 signs another executive order, adding to the grand total that he's done since he's been in the White House. But this one is set to put an initiative in to where agencies that are hiring for the government or government agent jobs, as far as any one of the branches that you work in or do government job, work, labor, anything it may be, those are going to be more skill-based as opposed to degree-based, where you go to school and you get the job over someone who's been there and had longevity and seniority over it. On a scale of 1 to 10, Nick, how beneficial do you think this will be to the black community?
What was that last part of that?
Which one?
As far as what you were reading off, you said it's not going to be off of school degree based, but based off of what?
So with government laden jobs where they're hiring, they're usually basing that hiring off of your degree level.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a doctorate, bachelor's, whatever it may be, they usually base hiring off that. Now there's been an initiative to change that, and people who have the experience, maybe gotten the job a long time ago, have been in those positions, they should have a better chance to move up in companies and also be hired if they have that skill set or acquired it from somewhere else without having the same schooling.
I can see that. The reason why I asked for clarification is because I wanted to make sure what I was thinking was lining up to what you were saying.
Okay.
I see it as a double-edged sword.
Mm.
I see that as a way for black people to get into these spaces, but I also see it as a way of keeping these same white folks Because, like, who's going to have more experience? You know what I mean? If we've never been in these situations like or these positions before, where am I getting that experience from? Now, the degree level does help because not everyone can go to college. Not everybody wants to go to college. Not everybody can, certain things happen where you didn't finish college or whatever type of secondary education you're setting up yourself for. So I do like that aspect where it's flexible because it's really about who can do the job the best. Some qualifications don't matter for certain jobs. As you can see, the president can be whoever you want to be.
Facts.
But at the same time, like when I hear like, oh, based off of seniority and all that, usually that doesn't favor minorities.
That was going to be my response, and that's my problem with it too. Now I think you're removing guidelines that probably are more beneficial to black people.
Exactly.
Like if I've been to school because I feel like that's going to be my way in and I busted my ass and I got the doctorate or whatever it may be, and my boss is sitting there and saying, well, Jim Bob been here since 19 whatever and his dad worked here. He's a little bit more skilled at this than you, so you take the backseat to him, even though on a skill, or excuse me, on an educational level, I would seem more qualified. So I do think that this is a slippery slope to start going down. So I don't think it's going to be, if I had it rated on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe 2 or 3 for black people, because the people that are already in place making these decisions probably won't favor us in either situation.
I say it's a 5. Really? I'm not gonna go that low. I'll say it's a 5. I
don't like our chances, man.
I mean, shit. I'll say that it's the butt ahead of situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sounds good and everything else, but when you look at the face of it, it ain't all there.
Because you really have to have a setup where people, if it's gonna benefit people of color, where the people in a position of hiring and making these decisions, they gotta like really be cognizant of. This person's been here busting their ass. They know how to do this with their eyes closed and be able to recognize that instead of interviewing someone who just came from a fancy school or whatever and being like, I'm going to make this choice as to go with the person that I've been with. I don't think that really happens to benefit us a lot.
Yeah, what you're saying is a well-rounded recruiter.
Right.
Who can draft a 4th rounder and they have first round talent, or a first rounder or draft a 3rd rounder with first round like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like you have to have an overall recruiter who can understand the skills and technical levels and the education levels that this position requires to make the best educated decision. But again, you're putting all your faith into the recruiter at that point. And most of these recruiters, they ain't looking like us.
Yeah, I don't trust the system at all. I don't trust the system that people are going to say, hey, this guy's been busting his ass here.
But I say a 5 because, again, how else are we going to get in these doors?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, because, like, again, like, I think this sounds like a Rooney Rule for sports fans. That's basically if you have a hiring position for a coach, you got to at least interview a black person. Yeah. This is kind of something like that as far as the intent. But
the Rooney Rule for the NFL states that before you make a hiring decision, you have to you have to at least interview a minority coach, being black or a person of color, as people like to say.
POC.
Yeah, one of those POCs. All right, before we start our topic of the day, which is a deep dive into the 2020 black vote, one last thing in our quick hit section, and that's Rona. That Rona is on the rise. Numbers are up as of Friday. We are recording this on a Sunday. The last time I paid attention to it and got some information on the news was Friday, and numbers were up. Places in Texas, Florida.
Texas and Florida is the main one.
Skyrocketing as far as cases. It's being reported that the hospitals are getting to capacity again. My question to you, Nick, what do you think is the main component to the Rona being back on the rise?
Young niggas like me. You know what I'm saying? We trying to have a good this quarantine. Let me get something off my chest. My chest bite. I just gotta say it. Right. If you're under 30, you are living through hell right now. Not only is your job damn near on the line now more than ever, at the same time you can't escape from the job and go to a bar, take a little vacation. It's the summertime, you know what I'm saying? We trying to see the Hot Girl Summer Part 2. I was waiting for baby mama season like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? You know when the baby mamas put out the sundress? That's what I was waiting for. But now we can't do that because of this damn virus. So we still gonna rebel. We're youth. The youth rebel. And you know what I'm saying? And This isn't in the positive way like with BLM, but it's in the nigga way where it's like we just trying to see some ass and titties too. You know what I'm saying? We trying to go on the beach and have a good time, have a couple douce, my preference. And kids are being stupid. And it's not all kids. It's just people in general. But I see a lot of young people out and about more than ever at these clubs and stuff. Even in Atlanta, it's just like shit ain't sweet right now. But that's why the things are going up, because people just want to get back to normalcy.
People want stuff to be back to normal. That makes a great point. Let me ask you this. Why do you think that people are being ignorant towards it? Or why do you think that people are like, fuck it, like you said?
That's why I was saying I was focusing on the youth, because with us, it's like, we got time.
Oh.
And also the rumors about like, oh, it's affecting older people more than younger people, and young people just like, if it does hit me, I got a young enough immune
people
system.
Like, fucking, I ain't gonna die from
exactly.
it, so
Yeah, niggas don't think they gonna die. Like they don't really think they can die from it, because it's like because of how vague everything is. First of all, it's a silent killer, because you don't know when you got it and how can you really get it. Right. We have obviously some educated guesses, but no one really has a surefire way.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's just more about like, I keep referencing this Drake line. If you ain't got it, you ain't got it. The theory is brilliant. I don't got Rona, so why do I got to worry about it? Why do I got to wear these masks? Why do I got to walk around like this? Why do I got to stay in the house when I don't have it and my friends don't have it?
Right. So why shouldn't I be able to just go out and
why can't I do what I want to do?
Interesting.
That's why it's taking the mayors.
You think that most people are thinking like that, and that's why the cases are
most young people, if you under 30, you don't give a fuck about Rona for real.
Well, what is it that makes people think that way? Is it because they just don't care about, like you say, is it because
it doesn't affect me? Oh. If it doesn't affect me directly, either myself, my family, my friends. Not affect
you mean you're not gonna die from it?
No, not affect me is like I don't know someone who has it, nor like once someone has it, I've seen people who've dealt with it, and it's like it changed your whole perception of everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when you have a family member who's going through cancer, like it makes you think about life differently. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's close to you. So and until some people learn from the mistakes of others, and some people have to learn from the mistakes from themselves. So unfortunately, I hope that doesn't happen for people out there, and I hope they are trying to be or are safe. But if you want to be real, like America is all about rebelling. Like it was already hard enough to stay 2 months in the crib. Now when things start starting to open in these big states where there is a lot of tourism, like Texas, Florida, New York, California, like if I have a beach outside, bro, why am I not going outside? And it's the summertime, and it's the 4th of July weekend. They had to cancel all that shit in Miami. I'm hot. Because I was supposed to have vacation plans out there.
You did tell me that in the pre-talk.
I couldn't even. I'm supposed to be Mr. Happy Hour this summer, Spike. That's what I was supposed to be out there. I was supposed to be out there.
Here's what I think. The reason that the cases are on the rise, I don't disagree with you. Your generation especially is like, fuck it, we out here. One of the few very rare times that you'll hear me say this, I think that this starts with Donald Trump and him being right about fake news. People don't know what the fuck is going on. So like people don't know if they gonna die from it. They don't know if it's bad for old people, if they should wear a mask, if they shouldn't wear a mask, if they touch stuff, if they should wear gloves. Like people have no fucking idea because of the way that it's being reported. Like Fox News may report it one way, CNN may report it one way, but just people are having a difficult time grasping what they should be doing. So in return, people have been like, fuck it. Like you said, like I don't. If they're ignorant of something, if people are ignorant of something, not in a bad way, but just ignorant, not having the information, I think people are gonna gravitate to like, you know what, I don't care, dude. Like I don't think that I'm gonna die from it from what I've heard, so I'm just gonna go with the best information that I heard, and I'm out here. When Donald Trump started talking about fake news, and then you had the media attacking him every day and attacking the credibility of the different sources and the different things, like you are on Twitter and Facebook, I would assume, like. Yeah. It's so difficult now to know what's real and what ain't. Like, is this headline correct with this barber that killed 80 people because he had corona? Is this one correct where people have been out and they're going to the clubs? I just seen a clip of people in Houston partying. Like, you don't know what's real and what isn't. So people just, like, resorting to the most comfortable thing. And it's like life as usual. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the reason behind the rise. There needs to be somewhere that people can go to get the truth. And I don't think people are looking to research, and it ain't it is a bad thing as far as spreading it, but I can't blame people for not wanting to sit in front of a computer or a television and take in all of this seemingly bad news, because that's what's being reported, because that's what keeps most people eyes glued to it. They making money off the advertisements from this. So being long-winded about a point where I'm saying people just don't have the information and the correct guidance on what to do. Back in the day, hating to sound like an old person, but when there were 2, 3, 4 news channels, people got their information from the news and acted accordingly or reading the newspaper. Now people get their news from Facebook, they get it from Twitter, they get it from all of these different sources, and everybody's saying different things, and it's not filtered to where people know what's real and what isn't. So you just got a reaction of fuck it. I'm going to be out here. Like your generation, older people, at some point, I've been to the store, I've seen some people with masks, I've seen some people without it. I've been to the barber shop, though no one was in there. I know my barber a little bit more personally than some people do. So I'm able to go when no one's there, like after he's finished cutting for the day, so I'm not worried about it there. But in a general sense, like people don't care because they don't know what information is real and what ain't.
And that's the scary part of it. That's the reason I kind of agree with your point. As far as you made a hell of a reach for it, but I kind of as far as Trump, yeah.
Well, tell me this: when did
because
you first start
niggas
paying
is dying
attention
though.
to this?
Because niggas is dying.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
niggas are dying from it. Like it's real as far as the spread.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like so, like I agree with you up until that point where like, but we got bodies to prove it, and we're increasingly seeing these bodies go up. So it's just like. And niggas already don't know how to wash their hands in the first place. So it's like anything. If you're talking about any disease spreading, we should be taking this so much more seriously, like how they do in the movies.
Facts. It's like
Planet of the Apes.
Some shit
like how
contagious.
Planet of the Apes ended up the most recent one. We ain't talking about the Mark Wahlberg one. The most recent one. How that shit spread was based off of like stupidity and probably the same shit. Like niggas ain't gonna really know until it ain't nothing but animals that they can see. Until it's like Adam and Eve out in that bitch. Renaming all this shit. Everything is gone.
But here's the reason I made the Trump reach though, because I think the reason that people are tuned out, and I've been saying this, people are so fucking tone deaf to this stuff now. People that don't care about politics, and the reason we try to do this show is to give a new, like, refreshing voice from our perspective. But as far as CNN and all of these other places, Fox News, people are like tuned out. They don't want to hear that shit. And that came from the coverage of Trump when he got in office and the continuous every fucking day of what he's doing and what this means and what he's tweeting, and all of that starts to tie in with people not wanting to pay attention because they don't want that type of energy from the news places or whatever, what they're reading or there's timeline. So people are trying to avoid that shit, and they just go with the best thing possible. So that's why I made the Trump reach. I think that's why. Because when did you hear about fake news prior to him?
No, I agree. It's a you ended you landed. You know what I'm saying? You stuck the landing. I'm just saying like. It's more. I don't think it has more to do with him. I think it's just more about even if we had all the information. That's the sad part that I'm kind of getting to. Even if we had all the information and we know exactly what it was and we know exactly how to stop it or how you could prevent it. If you telling niggas to stay inside in the summer for more than a month, they are not gonna comply.
That's not true. Shown by the numbers, America is the only place where we like fuck it because we getting bad information. I'm not saying America should be like this, what I'm about to say, but I definitely am pointing out for my point. Places like China, places like, South Korea, I think handled it well. Germany handled it well. The flow of information is controlled there by the government. Mm-hmm. So they're giving the people the information on what to do. They can't go to outside sources. Like they can literally shut down their Googles and their Twitters and shit. They can just hit the button on them, and all they getting is the information from the state. America doesn't have that option. So you get news from anywhere. You can, like I say, resort to the most comfortable thing. The places that have shown that it's able to be handled, because I think it's able to be handled as long as you do what you're supposed to do and not contribute in spreading it. Mm-hmm. Americans like, it don't affect me. I'm hearing too much fucking wild information, so I don't give a fuck about the mask. Everything has become political with even down to the wearing of the mask. People like, well, I'm not wearing a mask because Trump doesn't think this. And people like, well, I am wearing a mask because I care about people. And you make it this political thing. In other places that have had the problem and have had widespread outbreaks, the information was gotten out to the people complied, and the numbers went down. In America, the information got out there, the information got fucking muddied up, and now everybody's all over the place.
But no one, and this is my last point, no one disagrees that Corona isn't real. Corona is real.
That's true.
Everyone agrees to that. No one disagrees that Corona can kill you.
True.
Everyone agrees with that.
True.
no one disagrees that it takes 14 days to quarantine / to see if you can get it.
Right.
You could spread it. Like, no one disagrees on the facts of things.
Okay.
So when you have, again, we have the information, yet niggas is still willing to go outside and be like, fuck it, because I want to enjoy my life. We think about all the things that got canceled in 2020. It's a lot that we missed out on. March Madness, the Olympics, possibly the NBA season, possibly the NFL season. MLB is trying to come back. And that's just on the sports side, let alone vacation plans, let alone events. Coachella's canceled. Like, all this shit that was supposed to go on is gone. You could literally throw 2020 in the garbage.
Yeah, no 2020.
It does not exist. It's a lockout season.
That's what I'm saying, though.
I'm saying, like, that's hard for people who are
aren't even willing to do that. Like, all the information being out there and you knowing that, and we know that you may as well chalk 2020 up, that would probably be the smartest thing. Like, it probably would be. You and I can sit here and say this having a conversation. Then when we walk outside and you see everybody else turned up and you see people going to get haircuts and you see people interacting, you're like, well, shit, why can't I do it? Exactly. And then you go do it. But again, to my point of the flow of information, people are getting tired of it being turned into a political process. It's being turned into a Democratic thing versus Republican thing versus should you wear a mask? Should you not wear a mask? If you wear a mask, you're not supporting Trump. If you like whatever,
that may be. I don't know. I've heard a little bit of that, but that's not the main. Like,
fam, I've been scrolling down my timeline and seeing people in fucking city hall meetings.
What's the age range?
Red hot, mad fire. About 30, over like 40.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, those
niggas under 30
off talking about I can't breathe, and you talk about comparing it to their rights being violated because they're being told to wear masks. And mask is for the prevention of it. Like you said, people really don't care in America, like what you said, because if you're telling them, oh, a mask won't stop me from getting it, but it's gonna stop me from spreading it, I don't care. I'm just gonna forget it when I go to the store. I'm not saying me personally, but America in general.
I'm just saying, like, again, niggas under 30. We do not care about politics like that when it comes to it being the reason why we do shit.
That's why we here, though.
That's why we doing this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But we should, because it does affect us.
It does. All this stuff affects us.
Right.
Obviously, Corona affects everybody in the whole. This is the one thing that affects literally everybody in the whole world.
Right.
And look how we treat it. We still don't give a fuck.
So in closing, this, should you wear a mask when going out? What do you think?
You should. You should follow the guidelines to protect yourself.
At least to prevent from spreading it to other people.
I'm just saying, you should treat it just like condoms. Should I wear it? Yes. You should. There's not a time where you be like, you know what? I really don't need to wear this.
But sometimes you're going to slip up and forget it.
Sometimes you're going to say, fuck it. Sometimes you just want to say, if it ain't wrong, it ain't right. All right.
That is funny as hell. All right. So before we get out of here and put a close on another edition of the Politics as Usual podcast, we want to talk about the 2020. Damn, I got froze up. We want to talk about the black vote in 2020. There's been a lot of narrative out here on what is going on, withholding the vote. So we wanted to review some of the primary information, talk about some of the candidates that will be on the rise in 2020, and just in general what the black vote will look like. Nick, did you have any thoughts about the black vote in 2020?
Yeah. The thoughts is, I think the black vote in 2020 will showcase where as much people have been calling out other black folk to, you know, show themselves and support and to prove that our vote matters, our opinion matters, our impact on this country matters. I think this is the bigger than even 08 and 2012. The Obama election, like, this is another one of those things without actually having a face on it. It's more about the feeling, the movement. The black vote in 2020 is huge. Like, I think, and it's not just because of the vote itself, it's the way we vote. That's the thing that I'm looking at. Like, how are black people going to vote in 2020? Are we going to just take this L with Biden, or are we going to, you know, be rebellious and vote for Trump again? Or are people just going to be like, you know what, I don't care about the presidential election. I'm just going to stick to the local shit. Like, I'm interested to see how they vote.
What do you mean when you say take an L for Biden?
I just
one of those. I've been hearing this.
Did you see the video?
Which one?
There's a video. I think it was Biden in 1985. He's on Congress. He talking about some. we already got one nigga.
I know.
I'm dead ass, bro, dude. I wouldn't have believed if I didn't seen it. And I was trying to look at it to see if it was like
Joe
like,
Biden said we only
he
got
said
one
nigga twice. He said we got one nigga in the seat already. We don't need another one. Something like that. If I can find it, I'm gonna send it to you. Nigga sent it to me, and I was like, bro, he ain't say that. It was like in 1985.
So let me ask you this. I've heard this a lot, and the narrative started when Hillary was running against Trump, and people keep saying the less of two evils. You just said
it is
with Biden. Is that the case here?
Yeah, because if you only have a 2-party system, those are your only options.
So how do you change? What needs to be done for that to change? You think black people should stop voting until there's a third party option, or should they be presented? Or should they present their plan to one of these two parties and just make sure that their needs are being hit?
I think as America in general, because this is bigger than black people when it comes to the way the party system is in America,
Mm-hmm.
I think America in general needs to deal with more than 2 parties. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it should be like an infinite amount. I'm just meaning like at least 3 or something where it's just like, I don't have to pick between these two people, because we always get to this point.
But does that help though? Because let's say you add a third and a fourth party, the numbers.
Somebody gonna have to win regardless,
right? But the numbers then are just split up between the two primary parties, right?
In my opinion on life is the best thing you can give life, or you can give someone, or life can be given to you, is options. Like that's the best thing you can give to somebody.
True.
So like the more options you have, the more flexibility you have, the more conversations you can have, the more support you possibly can have. From what I've seen, these two parties have not given a fuck about black people for decades.
Right.
So for me to be like only pigeonholed into these two parties is like, no, I'd rather look for another option, because they ain't done shit for me since Martin Luther King, and then he had to die, and then someone else black had to die for this new stuff that like we always having to die just to get something passed. It's not based off of like, oh, we had a conversation and I fuck with these, this rule or whatever. Nah, it's like we have to be slaughtered. We have to be disrespected. Something has to go wrong for us to a severe level that we get shit passed. And I'm tired of dealing with those two parties when it comes to that.
I understand that, but I don't think that I agree.
And that's me taking the conversation to somewhere else. Like, but you talking about the black vote? Yeah, I'm more interested in seeing how black people vote in 2020, because I think this is huge, way bigger than when we was voting for Obama.
Facts. To tie it even into what you said, if the black vote was something that there was a third party that specifically addressed the needs of black, if it was a black party, we still wouldn't have the numbers to put that person in
We
office,
don't know.
right?
Because we're not talking about only black people vote for this party. We're saying this is another option that America can vote for. That's why I said it's bigger than black. Because it's
definitely ain't voting for a black party.
The people that we've elected now ain't voting for us either. In a sense, they ain't supporting us.
I think that's radical. It would be beneficial in the sense of having different issues heard and putting them on the stage with the main two parties. What I think is more realistic for our generation is knowing what we want and then presenting either one of those two parties with the opportunity to do those things. One of the things that I was getting to when you were saying the L with Biden, or the lesser of two evils, it is that way. I do agree with that, but with us knowing that, I think if we monitor our expectations of what we want and come up with the list of those things that we do want, we should be open to either one of those parties doing it. Do you disagree with that?
No, I'm not.
Is it Trump out at all costs for you? I guess is what I'm
asking. It's more about, at this point, the president shit don't matter to me. Whoever's in that seat don't really matter, because I've seen countless not countless, because I'm still a young nigga. So I've seen enough presidents in my lifetime to be like, oh, this don't really mean nothing for us,
right?
Because they don't do nothing for us. That's what my whole point is. Like, whoever's in office don't really have a black agenda off rip. It's always something that comes around based off of being presented to them, either in a conversation or in your face when we out here rioting and doing the shit in the streets. Like, no one really cares about black people when it comes to politics, because they've shown that. So that's why I don't really care about the president. Now, it's a nice way to think of, like, yeah, we can have a list, present our ideas, and they'll be heard. But we've done that, and we get the.
When you say no one really cares about what black people think, do you think that that's the same for other groups? Like,
no,
other groups get political agendas like people go to their political agendas and they take money for them and they go practice what they want. So why wouldn't the same be possible for black people if we went about the same process?
Because the system isn't, because America is set up systematically to go against black. It's not, I haven't seen anything, not to say America doesn't treat anyone else bad, but like systematically how this country was built was based off of, we got to keep these motherfuckers down for us to rise up. I haven't seen that specifically drawn out for other communities. And even when you talk about other communities, some of them don't have to deal with ethnicity/race. Like they deal with orientation, or like how you perceive someone based off of our social normatives. Like it's not based off of anything that's like tangible or factual. It's just like, oh, I am what I am, and this is who I rock with. So it's like, so like those people can band together easily and have more political power than someone who's like, oh, if you are darker than this brown paper bag, we ain't fucking with you.
The system is designed to keep a group of people down, us specifically. I do agree with that. But we do know that there's a system, and there are people that have been successful in this system. I think that where we have been held back the most as a people is not having the knowledge and information to participate in the game, the system per se. Now that we have more knowledge and information, everybody's quote unquote woke now, people are paying attention, I think it would be smart for us to participate in the game. Like, because what you said, we know the system worked. We've seen white people winning at it for years. Like, they getting what they want to out of a political system. There are different smaller minority groups that get what they want to out of a political system. I think for a long time, black people have been blocked out of that process of being able to participate in the system. So why not participate in the system and get the same benefits as some other subcultures get?
Because this system isn't made for us. Like, you know how, like,
well, that's what we dealing with now. That's why people in the streets rioting, right? So the biggest change that could come from this, in my opinion, would be, all right, yeah, the system wasn't made for us, but we here and we're not going to stop disrupting the system until we get our place at the table.
So, for example, this is how I'm thinking about it. Going back to sports, you know how you got like a head coach in football, right? And they have their own system that fits the players that they got.
Right.
When that coach gets fired, what happens when they hire a new coach?
They put a new system in.
Put a whole new system in. Damn, they probably get rid of some of the players too, right?
Right.
And they get their players. That's what I'm saying. Like, the system that I feel like you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, but with your reasoning, but you're saying we can do this because we've seen others do this. This system that we've seen isn't, I don't think, more like morally, if you want me to get to that point, but even just practically doesn't really, black people don't think like that. At least
we don't buy in because it's in our country.
Well, it's just more of like, we not as ruthless, I think, as other races have shown when it comes to like how this country's been run. Like, I don't think we would go to some of the extremes that how historically white people have been doing compared to what we've done, like, or like how we would do.
From the standpoint of down to our genes, that we're different.
I'm just saying, like, the way we think is different, and maybe that's because of how we've been treated. But at the same time, like, I don't understand how this system would benefit us if it was never intended to. So, like, we would have to remove the system and create something of our own that makes sense in our own light.
But wouldn't you agree that this system, a system has been in place for a long time where there are people that get the brunt of society. Like, there's a lower class and a middle class and a higher class.
Yes.
In most civilized systems.
Yes.
Black people happen to be at the lower class of this system. That doesn't mean that they can't be in the medium or the higher
I'm not
class.
saying, yeah, I'm not saying they can't.
So if we understand that there's a system and we understand that there's a process to be in the middle class or the higher class of that system, being prevented from participating was the biggest obstacle. Now we should be at a place where our participation should be accepted, or we're going to tear this motherfucker up, as you see people out in the streets now. So why won't we continue out the process as opposed to just saying the system won't work? I think continuing out the process is, regardless of the needs have been met in the past, dealing with it in 2020 should be a new thing. Dealing with what we want, dealing with what we should get back should be totally new now, because America, allegedly, based off the last couple of weeks or month, has starting to open its eyes and realize that black people are owed something. And we want what we're owed, and until we get it, it's going to be unrest, and change is going to have to come from that. And to take it back to sports, what you said on another conversation, it goes to what Kyrie is saying. Not wanting to go back and play in the summer league does disrupt the norm. It fucks up the system because now you got 32 people worth $1 billion who are not getting their business met. And the majority of the people that are helping them get their business met is black people, like black athletes. So if there is a way that we can disrupt the system and people listen, it's right now. We just have to have the nuts to do it. And I don't think that everybody's on the same page to participate in what we need to do to get what we want back from the system.
See, and that's my point basically is the system. It's like, again, we doing hella sports shit, but like you got the Patrick Mahomes style offense. Mm-hmm. It throws up averages 25 to 30 points a game.
Right.
But you have the Lamar Jackson offense throws up 25 to 30 points a game. Different styles.
Right.
But their both offensive needs are met. We putting points on the board,
okay,
which is what I think you're trying to get. Like, we can be successful as the other counterparts because we've seen it. We seeing is believing.
Or
but
not even that.
We're different quarterbacks.
We're being the thought process that's coming from this, in my opinion, or what we're looking for, is we want to be considered. Black people want to be considered. Like, we want to be considered when the laws are made. We want to be considered when the president is elected. We want to be considered when police are out drawing their guns. We want the same consideration you would have for a white man in this position, to be like, at least you can take me to jail. Don't kill me out in the middle of the street.
But that's not even what we're really asking for at this point.
Consideration is not what we're asking for.
Not equality. We asking for more because we've been slighted so much. Being equal ain't enough at this point.
Well, I'm
you
not
can't
even
tell.
saying
That's
equal,
why. That's
but
what,
just the opportunity to participate.
I'm saying fuck all that shit.
I'm not asking because we're tribal as a people anyway. So black, white, you're going to associate with your color is what I think. We all may be the human race. I agree with that, but just based off the things that we've been taught in society, people gravitate towards people that look like them.
I'm fine with being in the league, but I need first round picks. All right, I need reparations.
What does that mean, though?
That means that, like, I'm cool with drafting as well with the rest of y'all in this league, but I need to be compensated for what I've lost or for what not even just me. I'm just talking about as far as black people, what black people have gone through in this country, and this is coming from a African man. Like, any minority in this country should thank black people, the black ancestors of this country, because they have done a lot to get any minority anywhere in this country. So they are owed a lot. But right. So when we talk about equality, at this point, equality ain't enough, because what is it to be equal? What is Quaker Oats losing by changing Aunt Jemima? Not shit, because they already made billions. But what about those other black people or whoever the relatives for Uncle Ben and all that shit, who didn't get paid or didn't get their fair share if they did get paid? Like, what happens to those? Do we just say, oh, fuck it, we equal now, so it don't matter? Nah, we gotta correct some things. When the Nazis was fucking up everybody in the whole world, there was reparations for that, for those countries. They had to come out of pocket. Germany had to come out of pocket for that. Like, but what is America doing for black people? Oh, these little bills, these little, white voice actors ain't doing black voice. No one gives a fuck about that shit. That's not going to change how we get policed in this country or how we get jobs or even bank loans. Like, I need to see more than that. Y'all got to go above and beyond. We cool on the nice shit. At least from the conversations I'm having with the people, my generation, we not with the nice shit no more. We don't care about being equal, because y'all never cared about that. So why should we? Again, we keep on playing with these rules. That's why I say fuck the system. Right. We got to create. I still think there should be laws. I still think there should be policies. I still think there should be elected representatives. The foundation of this country, I do agree with. Right. But how things have been going, we got to change all that shit.
And when you say change all of that shit, you say the system that I'm talking about participating in needs to be.
Yeah, that needs to be shaken up a lot, because again, like, there's so many ways to get screwed over if you're not in the majority, that I don't understand. Like, we're still not, like, again, I brought this point up a few episodes ago. Like, black people are still a very big minority in this country, even compared to other ethnicities. So, or even social groups. So how do we expect to get that level of power by being equal? It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think the word that we're hung up on is the equality word, is just saying. The expectation shouldn't be to be treated equal, because, like I say, we black and they're white, and different races feel different things about different people. So I don't think that equal is what people are looking for, but an opportunity which has been denied for generation and generation and generation, because us as black people understand what we can do with the opportunity. If I just had the same head start as Bobby, Billy, or Johnny, then I think black people look at it as I could be just as successful. So give me the same opportunity. I ain't asking for equality because that's something different. But what I do want is the same laws, the same benefits that are giving to the people that we've seen a system that's been successful. We've seen it work. I want those same perks, and then let me work that system as well.
And I think
it's not about being compared to the people who've been in it. It's more so about the system. And
but how can you not compare
sports? What you're saying to sports, it's like somebody going into New England who've had a system in place with Belichick for over 20 years and trying to buck the system. Like, it's cool, you're talented, but we got a way of things that work over here. And I ain't saying that black people have to abide by rules and be obedient to subservient laws. Like, we don't have to do that. But what we can do is look at the blueprint of something that's there in place and use that system to help benefit us. Because we're here anyway. I mean, it's not like we're going to go anywhere. It's not like that a radical change can happen in our lifetime that's going to break the system down. It may. I'm not saying that it's impossible. But what I am saying is that there's a system in place, and now more than ever, due to the unrest that's out here, we're able to have a conversation about what we want from that system. If we continue to push down that path and talk about what we want from that system and use that system to get those things, and have people realize that if we don't get what we are deserved in the system, then we will burn this motherfucker down. If we're able to do that, then we're able to see a lot of things change and get to where you're talking about of equality.
Why don't we? And my question is, why don't we just burn it down now? Well, why wait?
I mean, are people ready for that though? Because just 2 weeks ago, I'm hearing people complain about their businesses being burned down. I'm hearing people complaining about
those are the
and I ain't saying you. I'm talking about in general.
I know
people
what
are saying, well, they missed the NBA. Kyrie is tripping. Like, people are back giving these people backlash who are looking at a bigger picture and saying all of that shit gotta go.
That's
ain't no NBA, ain't no NFL, ain't no NCAA, ain't no Gucci, ain't none of that. Like, all of it gotta go if you want a real change, like what you're saying. And I'm not sure people are ready for that.
And that's what I was saying. Like, yeah, the people who have that mentality of we can still do this. Mm-hmm. We just got to be in these positions. It can still work. Like, you know what I'm saying?
The Jay-Z approach.
Yeah, exactly. That's and people and that's why, because you're very critical of Jay-Z on that. That's why I'm wondering like why you think like working with these people don't work. Working within the system hasn't worked.
It has though.
How?
We're living in the system now, like America.
You think these policies that's been happening and changing because of what's been going on within the system, or because black people don't give a fuck and they burning down this white organ?
All new policies now.
Yeah, all this shit. You think Aunt Jemima and all them motherfuckers coming out because it took over 4 generations or however long we've been selling this shit to like, oh no, it's working now. You know, nah, it's because they seeing this shit and they have to deal with it. Right. They looking at it like, oh, all this shit can be burned down. There could be no sports. Mm-hmm. There could be, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't be safe to even, so like a Wendy's in the hood ain't safe no more. Like, they burn out Wendy's.
Don't you use those things as negotiating tactics though? Like, don't you use
negotiate for what?
For what you talked about, equality that we're deserved.
That's why I said that it can't be that no more.
It can be if you're willing to like burn it down, like you said.
But
until the time comes when it has to be burned down because you see that there's no change in it, there are perks that could be afforded to us.
Because what I want to slide on the table, the reason why I say it can't be, because what I want to slide on the table is an offer that they're not going to refuse. I mean, that they're not going to accept. Because it's just like, for what I'm asking for, they're going to be like, this goes against everything that America, the capitalistic country, whatever you want to call it, it goes against everything because it's like, this is what is old. I'm sending them it's basically going to be a blank check. And I'm going to be like, the number that I write on this bitch, you got to cash it. And they're going to be like, no, it don't work like that. And I'm like, oh, well, you found trillions of dollars in a pandemic. You could find trillions of dollars to get black people. Like, to be honest, could America not be like, all right, black people, we cutting y'all a check for 10 grand?
They could.
Because we only like less than 15% of the population of the country.
Right.
Okay. And this don't even have to go to, well, I ain't going to go that far because then I'm really going to split the audience. It don't have, I'm just saying, if it just went to black people, like 10 grand or something like, where we create a space. That's why when I was telling you the last few episodes ago about like work, how can change happen for black people? Like we have to run our own state.
Mm.
There has to be representative on a state level of damn near every important position that black people are in to run it, to be like, this is what's going on, this is what you can and can't do, fuck all the other shit. Cause we're the only country that has states like this. When you say states out of the country, you're talking about other countries. You're not talking about like, oh, this is within a state. Like, so we all really operate as a self-contained country. We just all have agreed laws federally.
Mm.
So if we had a black person that ran Georgia, from the governor to the mayor to the council people to every big position, or at least a majority of them, that's where we can really see what kind of things we can do. But that probably won't happen because, again, we talking about voting and voter suppression is real and all that other shit. So if that can't happen, then again, the system just don't work. Every time we try to come up with creative ways to do this, to do that, to get a Leroy in the room or whatever, it don't work at the end of the day. Leroy still end up mopping floors like a motherfucker somehow, some way, unfortunately.
Well, I understand what you're saying. And I think the reason that it doesn't work is because it's not our system, right?
Exactly.
It's their system.
Yeah, it's their system.
We've seen it work, though. And I'm definitely not saying subscribe to the system or be subservient. But what I am saying is when the opportunity presents itself as it has now to make strides in that system, then we have to take those. Like, or what are we going to do? Wait years for the system to be broken? Like, I'm not against, like what you said, tearing this whole thing down. I'm not against that at all. But when we're talking about the black vote and what black people are looking for in 2020 and what people want, we get focused on color a lot. Like what you said, having a black governor, a black mayor, or black judges, and white people in this country in particular are focused on not so much color, but their system, the systematic oppression of other people. They want people to realize that this country is for them. This is their country. This is their shit, regardless of whoever else is here. We need people who have, the reason why I say present an agenda. Like that thought process has to be there at every level as well, regardless of who's in the seat. If it's a black face or whatever, that face needs to understand the thought process of black people's survival in this system and being better in this system. So once those people start to understand the initiative and decide which side they're on, we can less focus about the faces of the people there and more focus about if they're signed up or subscribed to what we've presented as what we want to be successful in this system.
And my last point is more about, like, you brought up this point earlier when you were talking about the qualifications for certain government jobs and stuff like that. And you were saying, like, you were scared because black people usually, like, even if you are educated enough, you still may not get the job. But now you're saying, like, oh, even if you are educated, you still might not get the job because of experience. It's kind of like, yeah, I expect black people who qualify for those positions, and maybe this is just me assuming shit, they're going to be ready.
Right.
When I see Stacey Abrams, when I even see a Kamala Harris, or what's the other, like, whenever I see any black person running for something, they have at least done dot their I's, cross their T's on a lot of shit.
Right.
They are well aware of a lot of things. They are well equipped for a lot of things. So I can't particularly say that about the others. You know what I'm saying? But I can say that for the majority of them. Like, we got our failures too. No, I'm not saying we're perfect, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen black people be prepared to really, like, all right, we got to change some things. And I will want to see that more in the future. But for where the system is now, I don't see how that can, a lot would have to change. And I like where the change is going so far. So again, like, I'm willing to be patient and wait on it. Like how you were alluding to fake news. That's the reason why I like to sit and, process a lot of things before I speak on them.
Right.
Because I want to get as much information as possible. But I feel like not a lot of people do that. And it shows from the local level, state level to federal, that a lot of people aren't prepared for it. But I do think the ones that I have seen are black.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that. I think that to summarize it, the 2020 vote and what the black 2020 vote, I think it is going to, I agree with you, be a larger turnout than 2016 and 2012 just because of how popular of a topic the politics is now. So I do think that black people are going to show up. I do think that we need to continue to work to a initiative that's going to benefit us within the system. That, my friends, is politics as usual. It's another one in the books. I am Spike Lou.
It's your boy Nikki Duce.
We appreciate you guys joining our conversation. We're going to continue to work and get better at these conversations about politics and bring you a different perspective, refreshing and new. We appreciate the feedback that we've been getting on it. Thank you guys for listening. Tell your friends about it. Tell them about the conversation. Propose some topics to us. We may do some mailbag questions or something and answer some questions that way. But we definitely want to keep you listening and tell people about it and spread the word.
Yep. And that's us for this week. We out.
Yep.